That's why Ethereum is around today. His World of Warcraft character got nerfed.
No, I think we're kind of forgetting, right, that how actually fast like the technology is going. So both projects have been building for what, 4 or 5 years, and now we actually have systems, tools, side chains, and networks that can support thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of transactions per second. You guys are building on Solana and migrated to Polygon.
Polygon and Scale. We're multi-chain, but we focus on Polygon and Scale.
And if you dial back a bit, right, like this, or at the advent of play-to-earn games, like this wasn't possible. Axie Infinity was on Ethereum before they even migrated to Ronin. But the fact that you guys have started building these projects with a specific goal in mind, it doesn't matter if you release the game in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, because it's made to scale, built to scale. Maybe a good question here is, like, you, Michael, specifically, you have a good financial background, right? And you've been in the game for a while. How do you balance building the game that the players want and also being able to manage the volatility of the markets?
Yeah, I think there's really two parts to this question. So the first part is managing community expectations, and we've fallen victim to, out of a desire to be transparent, communicating what our expected roadmap looks like. And unfortunately, a lot of times, given the complexity of game development, you end up in a situation where timelines are extended. Would you agree?
Yep.
Right. So while we want to keep the community engaged and informed and let them know about everything that's up and coming and when it's going to come, it ends up being a double-edged sword for us. So we've kind of pulled back on our commitment to communicating any timelines, but rather just spending time communicating what it is that we expect to have released going forward. Now, the second part of this is managing an economy and also managing around crypto volatility. I think in the near term, it would be unusual for us to be decoupled from macro crypto cycles, especially given the stage of development. And we've been developing now since early 2021. It's been a couple of years. This is a product that will take up to a decade to complete. And what I really say is it's a product that is never intended to be complete, because the whole vision here is that through time and through this decentralized ecosystem, people can carry the torch on into the future. And we're thinking in terms of 100 years plus. Long after Automata, the studio, is gone, the community will be running this universe through the DAO governance and through the DAO funding mechanism off of fee collection, off of in-game activity, and new developers, again, will carry that torch. So in the short term, it's difficult to decouple from macro variables. However, once we get to the point where we have substantial game content and we have a significant user base, and the value that's being presented is less speculative and far more based on the actual substance of the product itself. When you get to that point, then you have far fewer people who are involved that care about price volatility, and more people that are just immersed in the game itself, which is ultimately what we're building.
Yeah, again, me too. Yeah, what is important for us, if you look at the game from a high-level perspective, you build a world, we both are building worlds. And for us, it's very important that people want to be in that world. And for people to come into our world, there has to be a very good reason. And for me, and I also think for Michael, there is a fair exchange of value. And if you have a fair exchange of value in your game, people will come and stick. And the exchange of value will be for money, but I think it's more important the value of time. So your time, or maybe health is the most important thing you have, but time is a good second one. So that's a precious asset you have. So if you want to spend time with us, or in this game, you get something in return. And it can be monetary, it can be social, it can be an accomplishment. People have different motivations. And what we try to build is an environment that can facilitate whatever your motivation is, that can help you achieve these objectives. And if you look at it that way, you're also less vulnerable to the crypto swings or coupling with the monetary outside, because there is other value that people get in your game. And of course, we're not blind. We also see that there are people in our game that want to be there for the money, so they really want to have the monetary value from it. And they are susceptible to the rise and the fall of the crypto. But we also believe that the people that we want in our game are with us because of our philosophy, because we build a trustless, decentralized system. And these people know, they believe in crypto, right? So they don't go out when the price goes down. They know, okay, it's all in the game, but we believe in this project, we believe in crypto, so we stay in. And I believe in such a way, we cannot be 100% decoupled, exactly, but we provide a system that gives value in other terms, which is less vulnerable to the shocks.
It's such a valuable point. I think that it's worth emphasizing here, too, that entertainment value, that utility aspect that gaming brings. And it's in the narrative right now, Web3 gaming is going to be a driver of the next cycle, and I genuinely believe that, have believed that since we started on this mission. And the biggest difference, and I've been in crypto for 10 years now, and I've been through all of the different cycles and all of the different themes, but what is most compelling about gaming is that it is a product that offers entertainment value as a form of utility, and it distinguishes itself from all of the other mechanisms that have been in crypto previously, which is largely financial driven. Like I want to get into crypto because I'm either speculating or I'm participating in ICOs or I'm essentially playing gamified finance through DeFi. But now you have a real application that people want to get involved in and spend hours in, many hours of their lives in. And I think it will be a catalyst for this next cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may add, I'm in a lot of Twitter spaces, and you probably too. And after the first waves of play and or play to earn, people said, okay, it's not about earning. We should not focus on the blockchain aspect. We should not focus on the Web3. We should build fun games. And I totally do not agree with it, because a game inherently should be fun. It's a hygiene factor, right? If you have a game that's not fun, what are you doing? So we try to focus, and that's what Michael said, on the blockchain aspect. So we say, no, you have to focus on the blockchain aspect, because you have to explain to the people that they can be the owner, that they can be a participant and an owner, so they can reap the benefits collectively, because we build a trustless, decentralized system.
I sense a collab.
So I think like one major aspect that we keep downplaying when it comes to expecting games of this scale to deliver is that it's a huge responsibility, because we're not only building the future of what virtual worlds will look like, we're also building the future of what player-owned economies are going to be. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm guilty of expecting too much from the games that I personally participate in, but we're going to get there, guys. So let's give a round of applause for our speakers tonight. Cryptopia, and the one and only Star Atlas.
Thank you, Sedano, Michael, and Sangho. Love your little meet cute story there yesterday, by the way, Michael and Sangho. So they spoke about building worlds, building economies, and how that's really hinged on what Sangho said earlier, a fair exchange of value. And that's not only in terms of resources, or money, but also in terms of time, entertainment value, and whatnot. So that's something that we really need to figure out as we build worlds and economies in the gaming blockchain. All right, so next up, we're going to be talking about leveraging external services to scale with your game. Every game developer dreams about hitting that top spot in all of the charts, but that inevitably comes with some unforeseen headaches for developers trying to do it all on their own. We bring together experts who are providing gaming companies the critical infrastructure they need to scale when demand is high. To discuss this topic, we have the head of product innovation of Globe Group, Eprom Galang, joined by Andrew Veranges, APAC VP of Sales and General Manager of Block Daemon, and Bobby Bhatia, CEO and co-founder of Tashi Protocol.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good afternoon so far. I'm Eprom. I've been working in the crypto industry since 2014. Recently, I've joined Globe. As you can see, we're now referring to ourselves as the Globe Group. As to previously, we referred to ourselves as Globe Telecom. So this is part of our initiative to bring awareness that we're more than just a telco company now. We're transitioning into a techco. We have a wide variety of portfolio companies. So to complement our big 55 million user base for Globe as the telecom, we also have portfolio companies, and most popularly Gcash, with now about 80 million users. So with that, you can imagine that we're working on a lot of things to support that scale. And we're not building everything and working on everything in-house to support that much scale. We do leverage external parties. And the same story is also true for Web3 gaming. And it's a good thing that today I'm joined by two heavy hitters in that industry. So to start off, I'd like you both to introduce yourselves and let us know how you got started into crypto and Web3. Maybe Bobby, we can start with you.
Sure. By the way, thank you to YGG, and great to be here. I got involved in crypto, I would say 2011, so it was actually pretty early on, early days. What actually got us in the whole game was we were actually doing a lot of development work for Layer 1 protocols. So that actually gave us a great insight. So, whether it was Hashgraph, Cardano, Polkadot, Ethereum for that matter. So really got involved and trying to understand the basics of it. The investing side came much later in 2015. So, been around there around the hoop, as you call it, for 15 years. So
we have a true OG over here. Andrew?
Yeah, so, I've got a little bit different background. Like, I'm a tech infrastructure guy. I'm Australian. I still think I have a heavy Australian accent. Otherwise, some people are debating that with me because I've been in Singapore a while now. But, I've run telco, data center line of business and infrastructure for banks, financial services in Australia. I've spent time in IT. I've spent some time in Cisco systems. I've spent some time in AWS. So from my perspective, I'm always looking for what's next. So I've done telco, I've done IT, I've done cloud, internet. So I was really excited to do something in the blockchain space at the infrastructure level. So that's what I do at Block Demon. We're like the largest blockchain infrastructure Web3 company you've probably never heard of, right? Because what we do is we supply infrastructure to protocols, foundations. We support over 60 protocols, well over 100,000 nodes under management, and we support large crypto native companies, large digital native companies. We're coming into gaming and also traditional kind of enterprises that want to use public protocol. And so I got into crypto, about 4 years ago, just with a bunch of friends, real curiosity, mainly around Bitcoin and ETH, right? I'm not a trader, I'm not a finance person. So for me, it just looked like something I needed to learn as a technology. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I'm here.
Yeah. And Andrew and I were talking earlier. It's an interesting fact that while he was in AWS, he helped two of the big exchanges here get into AWS as well. So maybe Bobby, can you tell us more about Tashi Protocol and how it's helping games in terms of scale?
Sure, absolutely. So listen, even in the earlier panels, we were discussing that, building multiplayer games is not easy, right? It's actually quite difficult. So, you have to know, whether you're building on Unity, are you building on Unreal? You have the physics engine of Photon, for example. So there's a lot of complexity. Till date, Web3 has been limited. Web3 gaming has been limited with the kind of throughput the infrastructure can support, right? So we started off, let's think about Ethereum with like 15, 20 transactions, going all the way up to Solana that says, they can do 20, 25,000 transactions. And then, on the Ethereum side, you're doing what are known as ZK rollups and a bunch of these things, but we're still not there. We're still, what we identified that we needed to have a blazing fast infrastructure layer in order to then encourage more game genres. So one of the biggest things is Web2 gaming guys look at Web3 gaming guys and go, that's not gaming, that's just trading, that's not even a game. So really what we'd actually built was taking the hashgraph algorithm, rewriting it in Rust, and now we support 1 million transactions per second with 30 milliseconds of latency, which means, other than first-person shooter, every other game genre can be built on Tashi in a completely serverless manner, in a decentralized manner. So that's what we've built.
That's big, not even for just gaming. That amount of throughput that you can support, that's actually really amazing. And to have that to support blockchain gaming is really big. Now, Andrew, I think you would also have that perspective in using traditional systems and proven systems to support these blockchain gamings. Can you tell us more about how Blockdaemon helps with that?
Yeah, and firstly I want to say what Bobby's saying here resonates with us. Like, games come to us when they have throughput problems. That's when we start talking to game shops, gaming developers, etc. So it's super exciting to hear what you're doing at Tashi, and like, we need to talk offline. But so, like, you know, in the gaming market, what we can talk about is a couple of case studies and examples. One of them's in Korea. There's a well-known gaming company called WeMade. It's been around 20 years, and its CEO's really wanted to move into blockchain gaming. Because he believes in the vision of ownership of in-game items, having them tradable, potentially down the line having a marketplace. Like, that's, you know, he believes in the outcome that blockchain can deliver. You know, maybe blockchain would be something else for him, it, you know, could be replaced, but he wants his users to have that as an option, right? So that's what's really important. So we've worked with them on, like, how do you build a blockchain? Like, we white label a lot of that infrastructure back to them, but also then to their partners. We help them with the validator set and building the governance frameworks as well. We also help them when they have very large enterprise that, you know, are a great company and logo, but maybe you don't want them to actually be running the validator. So we white label back to them. And then, so that's, you know, that's our journey and one example with WeMade. And then what happens is, as a game lands on the chain, WeMade will say, hey, these guys are scaling, they're starting to struggle, they need help. Can you go talk to them? So then we start helping individual gaming studios on a specific chain. And we've started then to repeat that journey again with other gaming protocols. But we also run things like, you know, we're a large Solana runner, right? So, you know, you can see how that sort of gaming dedicated chain and gaming adjacent kind of chain story will play out. And that's how Blockdaemon's got into the gaming space. Yep.
Yeah, I think that helps, you know, sort of an identity crisis when you're building a Web3 game. Are you a blockchain company or a gaming company? But at least both of these platforms help these game developers really focus on the gaming aspect. And Bobby, you mentioned that I'm sure there's a lot of gamers here with the audience with us. Sometimes we hear Web2 gamers really, no, they don't give Web3 games that respect. What can Web3 games learn from the success of Web2?
Listen, I mean, I mean, that's a very broad question. So obviously, the Web2 gamers, you know, everybody jokes around. For everybody who dies, you know, there's a gamer born every day, right? So you have, that's the majority of the people. It's a $200 billion market that's growing at, you know, close to 70% CAGR. But one of the key things I want to address with the blockchain is that there's certain algorithms, and you know, one of the big problems in Web2 gaming has been cheating. A lot of the games, you know, are just the way they work, right? And also projecting, you know, with an AWS server, where am I going to put the servers? Every time, you know, you move left, I jump, he moves right. We're locking up egress cost, right? Number two. Number three, if we have any political issues in the world, like a Taiwan situation, China situation, or, you know, for that matter, COVID, where's the GPU capacity? We keep talking about metaverses. We talk about all of this infrastructure. So for us, when we started looking at blockchain, you know, it wasn't the NFT part, it wasn't the crypto part, but we really took it from, hey, are there some anti-cheat features here? Yeah. Can it help us reduce cost? Yep. You know, is there a lot of wastage on compute today? Oh, one of the big applications, guys, is going to be, you know what the Web2 gaming guys are all asking about, is ad networks. You have GDPR and COPPA compliance today. So basically, GDPR is, are you over 18, under 18? COPPA is, are you over 13, under 13? Which then determines what kind of ads I can push to you. But now what we're doing is, one of the products we're coming out is zero knowledge proofs, where you as a gaming company don't have to own the PII data.
Okay.
So you don't have the PII data, so I'm taking that whole liability off of you, and there's a zero knowledge proof. So just so you guys know what a zero knowledge proof is imagine if I had to take your driver's license, right? I don't need all of the information. All I need to know is, do you have the right to drive or not? That's a zero knowledge proof. So as long as I know you're over 13, under 13, you're going to see the blockchain, especially on the ad networks, with especially also Superfine. This is going to be a real use case that's going to be coming up.
Yep. So you touched on two important things there. You talked about fairness, which is a very interesting use case, and you leverage blockchain for that as well. And taking away, a lot of people don't think about compliance too much when they're building applications. It is a big pain in the ass. I think that speaks to what you guys saw on Twitter the past few hours. Andrew, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I genuinely think it's such an exciting time as an infrastructure guy. Like, it's getting there right about now. And we're like all of these innovations that Bobby is talking about, what we're seeing, we have a really, really interesting view on transactions and throughputs and chains and all of that. So we just think the environment for game developers now is just nearly perfect. I think one thing we're thinking deeply about is MPC and key management, and bringing, very high-end institutional security to the gaming market, but not make it look like, anything that you would, see from an institutional wallet or any of those functionality. So we've been thinking about that a lot as well. We have one solution called Build a Vault, and basically it's a MPC SDK, which is a multi-party computation software development kit, so very technical, but it's enabling, and we're starting to see gaming developers utilize that sort of technology underneath, but also make it transparent, which I think is fantastic. So there's no seed phrase, all of that starts to melt away, and it's back to usability, fun experience. So, we've got some announcements coming down the line around that sort of technology use cases, because historically that sort of high-end tech was just going into banks or crypto exchanges or, high-end crypto native or very large enterprise. So we're actually excited about that as well. And that's going to come back to the safety element. Yep. People can have confidence in the gaming wallets because they've got high-end security, but it's not, the complexity is melting away.
Yeah, and for the non-technical folks in the room, I think you guys talked about a lot of deep technical stuff there, but I think the important aspect on what you can envision from what Andrew just mentioned, imagine gaming, Web3 gaming, but not having to have a MetaMask or a third-party wallet to start playing. That's actually a huge barrier that you guys would be helping out with. So we don't have a lot of time left, but I'd like to hear from you guys. What technologies or what are you guys looking forward to in terms of innovation that's coming to Web3 in the next coming years?
So I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking at is identity. So identity is very, very important, because at one level, I want to be anonymous, but another level, I want to be discoverable. So first, balancing those equations out is going to be something that we're really looking forward to. The second big piece is, right now, with the whole NFTs, for example, we had to store them on IPFS. Now, how do you, if you're logging on with what I call a pseudo-anonymous wallet, which is MetaMask, how do I get the legal ownership? How do I get attribution? How do I get the provenance? So ultimately, if people have to trust and buy something and it's a high-value asset, I have to be able to control it. I have to have legal ownership on it. So I think we are starting to address some of those issues. And as we start to address those issues, in addition to speed and infrastructure, that's really going to help push the Web3 market forward.
Yeah, and I think from my side, and I would say, yeah, the two things, the technology advancements and just kind of summing up what we're all talking about, but also the simplification of it all. We know you don't hit mass adoption until things are simpler, easier, more consumable, more friendly. You know, you don't have to read a 1,000-page instruction book. So I think these technologies across the board are getting sophisticated, but also simpler to interact with at the same time, which is actually a really exciting combination.
Awesome. So I'd love to ask you guys more questions. That you guys are definitely working on a lot of exciting stuff. So if you guys are building games, you should definitely hit up both Bobby and Andrew here. We'll all be here throughout the afternoon. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eprom, Andrew, and Sandeep. So, for the founders and the builders out here, if you're ready to scale, you know who to talk to. Before moving on to the next topic for today's conference, we bring you another game showcase. And this one is huge. We have two basketball megastars turned Web3 gaming degens joining us from Barangay Ginebra, San Miguel. We have Darren Dillinger, PBA great and founder of Daredevil Media, and Tony Bishop of Ginebra, San Miguel, joined by Munchies and DC of YGG Philippines for the Riftstorm Game Showcase.
Hello everyone, GM. Hello DC boy, how are you doing?
What's up everyone? Is everyone having a good time here today?
And for tonight, we will be having another game showcase for every one of you that is sitting. And can you guys say to your left side, you look so beautiful today? Can you tell that to your right side? Because I'm so amazed at seeing this beautiful men and women here on space. So welcome to our game showcase. And for tonight, let us join forces in a co-op top-down action shooter, taking control as an elite secret operatives filled with threat beyond the cosmos. Whether you're a hardcore gamer or a casual gamer, these games offer the intensity raw combat experience. Let us welcome Riftstorm!
And if you guys haven't heard, we'll be having special guests for today. These are not just like people come in every now and then. These are athletes. And these are current players for Barangay Ginebra in the PBA. So the first one that we'll be having is a PBA legend and a champion. But more than that, he's actually creating a lot of impact outside of his basketball career through his contents in the Web3, such as his podcast. So let us all welcome from Barangay Ginebra, the Daredevil himself, Jared Dillinger.
Let's go!
And the other guest that we'll be having is one of his teammates. He told me that he's currently moving himself towards crypto as well. He's the current import of Barangay Ginebra. He actually scored 34 big points in his debut match. So let's welcome Tony Bishop.
Woo! Tony! Let's hop into the game test right now. You can start playing.
We can start playing
right now. You can start playing. Okay. This game is called the Riftstorm, and right now, the tallest person here on our event will be playing with us. Let's go.
So let's see how the game does. And as they're gonna play it now, we'll be asking them questions on how they would experience the game here.
Yep. So here on your left side is yep, that's Jared on your left, and on your right. Oh, do you have your mouse in top? Oh, there you go. Just click. Use the click right here. There you go. Oops. Let's call it Tita Evie. Real quick. Can we have a mouse real quick? Thank you. All right.
Not yet.
So right now, Riftstorm is a co-op player that you can play as a solo gamer. If you're a solo gamer, you can play this one. And if you have a friends, you can play this game with a maximum of 3 people.
Yeah, so it's your choice if you want to gather your squad or just do it on your own. I was actually talking to Manjis a while ago because I remember him asking me to actually test this game as well. So before they actually play some games here, I've seen like different characters that they're like having now. Can you describe some of them?
So we do have 3 types of characters here in Riftstorm. So we do have the Starling, we do have a Cloud Atlas or Code Atlas, and we do have a Code Icarus. So that 3 characters has its own specialty. So the first one is the Starling, which is my favorite. The assault rifle type, wherein if you're having an assault, you can just go RNG, right? You can just go and that's my favorite one. And the second one is the Code Atlas, which is the shotgun, wherein you can do some AoE firing with that. So if you have a lot of monsters behind you or in front of you, you can just blast them with the shotgun and it will kill them all. And the last one will be the sniper rifle, wherein it targets directly on point and will kill you in just 1 shot.
So the one on the screen right now, what do we have there?
So right now,
I'll start playing.
all right, let's start playing.
Tony's.
All right, so this one right here is Sir Jared. All right. So what he's doing right now, he's entering on a stage wherein he can open some chests. And if you go to that mud, you can be slowed. There you go. They're opening some chests right
this
now.
is like the looting part of the...
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So there are some monsters and some drops that you can get while playing and killing some mobs.
So the way it goes is that as long as you play the game, do you actually get stronger?
Yes, that's right. So as you play the game, as you finish one level above, you will get some upgrades on your weapon, on your speed, on your class, or whatever. Example, your assault rifle, your charge or your fire rate will increase, or you'll be having a critical damage or something like that. So right now, what are you doing, Sir Jared?
How am I doing right now? Oh man, can I say I'm kicking ass right now? Let's go.
So Sir Jared right now is using the, I believe you're using the shotgun type. Yep. So he's using
So
the
Tony's
Code
playing
Atlas.
the assault rifle
That's
right now?
right. That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So Tony, what do you feel about these movements?
I love the movement right now. It's fairly easy, it's very effective, and I also love this ability right here to stay away from the defenders, just like that. The jumping ability is great.
All right. Because I think it's one of the challenges right now in like these shooting games. I feel like movement is like very important
That's
for
right.
people to enjoy it.
On this game, I think you need to dodge, you need to shoot, and you need to move as quick as you can because the enemies are a lot in every round. So it becomes more damage, or the damage is much better when you go to the higher levels.
So, Munches, you've played this game, right? So, what would be Jared's and Tony's goal right now playing through this game?
So their goal is to get stronger at first. So kill a lot of mobs, get some shields, get some gemstone for them to upgrade and be prepared for the harder levels.
You guys, next time, you gotta make these tables taller for big people.
All right, we will get some big tables for you guys on our Game Expo, okay?
Tony is actually looking comfortable here.
Bro,
I'm
I think
locked in right
Tony's
now.
getting competitive right now.
Tony has long ass arms. That's the only reason why it's cool. For him.
Perfect. So
Are you actually carrying Jared?
He's at the squat going right now.
Jared, do you still remember the first game that you played? Any game that you played?
Yeah, I'm an old school gamer. I think all-time favorite game is probably Final Fantasy VII on PS1.
Cultured.
Yeah, I used to have LAN parties with Age of Empires, Command and Conquer, StarCraft, World of Warcraft. Yeah, I think I just told my age to everyone just now.
How about you, Tony? What games did you love before?
I grew up on StarCraft as well. That was actually my favorite game. And Age of Empires and Empire as well, like an army game. You know, it was pretty fun. You know, we used to go around, get a lot of LAN parties and get 3 vs 3, 2v2, 1v1.
Are you guys still playing any like games right now?
For sure. I mean, a lot of FPS games right now, like Modern Warfare 3, Fortnite, Apex, playing Baldur's Gate, Starfield right now. Kind of just a slew of just random games.
Guys, imagine Jared beating up some kids in Fortnite, guys. So right now, I think they are on the boss. So this is the crushing high Arthos. This is like the jumping mobs where you need to dodge. And mind you guys, if if you both die, all the loots that you get will be destroyed. So you cannot get any loots if you die. So be careful.
Yeah, I've been seeing Tony's movements right now. It's pretty cool. It's like dashing it out.
I mean, Jared here too. Ooh, see that? Ooh, you're doing the movement, huh?
Is there a way to heal? Can I heal myself or?
So there's a heal where you can get it on the boxes, but it's random.
Okay, got you.
And also, after one level, there's a map wherein you can refill your HP. You can upgrade some weapons or some attributes, or something like this.
Oh, this one.
You can check it. Oh, Jared died, but
What happens next? All
right. So Tony can resurrect Jared by going to him and click the letter F. There you go. You're alive again. There you go. You've been carried out right now.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate that.
I can confirm Tony's a team player now.
Yeah.
I'm loving the movement on the game right now. I'm loving the action.
So if you're a FPS game, I feel like you're an FPS gamer too.
Yeah, I'm a gamer for life. You know, I grew up playing games. Right now, I'm trying to get back into the space. Jared is helping me to do so as well. So I'm experiencing all the new things right now, and getting all the new technology and everything going with it.
Yeah, Tony actually told me a while ago he's trying to move more inside crypto. So what's actually your experience here in the Web3 Gaming Summit?
Oh, today is my first day, so I'm locked in and I'm kind of enjoying everything as much as possible, soak in as much as possible, and just gain as much knowledge as I can in the space.
And you, Jared, how's your experience here in W3GS right now?
Oh, it's been great, man. I've been talking to so many people. Oh, wait, Tony's out. Hold on. Wait a second.
Go. Revive him. Space. Oh! So this is Riftstorm, guys. If you are a competitive player and you love this type of gameplay, I know this game is for you guys. So how is it? How is the gameplay?
It was surprisingly like the controls really smooth. It gave me some Gauntlet vibes. Again, I'm telling everyone my age pretty much, but it gave me some Gauntlet vibes. I like it, man. I would be interested if I could ask you guys a question, because this is PvE, right?
Yep.
You guys, are there going to be any moments where it's going to be PvPvE type situations, or?
So good question, Jared. I believe if you want to know the answer, you can see us on the event on coming 23rd to 25th.
Nice.
All right,
Very
for
nice.
our Riftstorm game showcase again.
There's gonna be a booth and like more of this. So
So
let's wait
can
for
you want to plug your socials, your Facebook?
podcast.
your podcast.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is like a cool shill moment, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys,
Take your time.
come find me at JDaredevil2 at any social media handle. I do have a new upcoming CNN Philippines show called The Future, where we're just finding the biggest, brightest, innovative ideas that's emerging tech and changing our society. So if you guys got any cool things you want the world to see, you guys come hit me up.
All right. How about you, Tony? Is there anything you want to say to everyone now?
I just want to say this is my first day here. I'm having a great time. You know, I'm experiencing a lot. You know, I'm loving the Web3 space. I just want to continue to soak up any knowledge of anything you guys want to show to help me to improve my knowledge and experience. Feel right, go ahead, do it.
Yeah. Good to hear that.
Yep, let's
Definitely
go.
welcoming here.
Awesome.
Welcome to Space, Sir Tony, and I hope you guys enjoy
We
your
loved it.
time here upstage, and see you on our game showcase on the 23rd and the 25th.
We got you. We'll be there.
Let's go!
We'll be there. Rift Storm!
Rift Storm!
Rift Storm, thank you, Jared, Munchies, DC, and Tony. Did you guys enjoy that? All right, if you're enjoying so far, do share your experiences on your socials and use your hashtag W3GS. Again, please post content on your entire experience in this event and use our hashtag W3GS. All right, after watching some pretty competitive, although fun, players take on Rift Storm, we go straight into learning what it takes to build a successful esports program for mass adoption. To discuss this topic is a co-founder of New York's first professional esports team, NYXL, Rohit Gupta. Joined by Nix Iniego, Philippines lead of Axie Infinity, Koji Nagata, co-founder and head of game design of Parallel, and Abel Tan, design manager of Mighty Bear Games.
GM. Before we get started, wanted to understand the lay of the land. How many of you have participated in an esports tournament or want to go pro? Got one, two. How many people have watched an esports tournament? Same number of crowd. Okay, hopefully you can inspire many of you to go pro. Do you want to quickly introduce yourselves before you get in it?
All right, thank you, Rohit. Hey guys, my name is Nix from Axie Infinity. Thank you so much for coming out here, and looking forward to connecting with as many people as possible. And yeah, so I work for Axie, for Sky Mavis. I'm part of the growth team, and for the longest time have been focused a lot on the Philippine market as well. And I'm based here, so I'm Pinoy, like everyone, most of the people here. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Koji. I'm the head of game development and design at Parallel, and one of the co-founders. Parallel is essentially a sci-fi based TCG with Web3 elements. So if you're interested in playing card games or earning Prime or any of that sort of stuff, definitely come check out the game. We're going to have it on the floor tomorrow. And we're actually about to start developing or attempt to develop our own esports scene. So this is perfect timing for this chat.
Awesome.
Hey everyone, Abel from Mighty Bear. I'm a design manager at Mighty Bear Games. I lead design and product at Mighty Bear. We're working on Mighty Action Heroes, which is a Web3 battle royale game. First time in Philippines, and Mighty Bear Games, if you're not familiar, is a Web3 game studio that's based in Singapore. And prior to Mighty Bear, I was product manager at Activision Blizzard King. And yeah, just really happy to be here. Really happy to talk about esports with all of you.
I would listen to these guys because some of our esports players in the U.S., not in Call of Duty, but other teams make $1 million a year, north of $1 million. So some of you can look at gaming as an actual income-generating job. So with that, how important is esports to your gaming strategy, and why even spend time on it right now in your game life cycle?
I'll take it. All right. So esports is actually very big, or has been very big, continues to be for Axie. I believe we're the only Web3 game who has done hundreds of tournaments and have given out millions of US dollars in prize pools over the last few years. And actually, I'm not sure if it's here. So one of our winningest player in the esports scene has made over $500,000 US just by playing Axie. So is it important? 100%, because I feel like, as we can see in bigger games like Dota, League of Legends, you really build that kind of fan base, that following, when people have someone to root for and someone to root against. And you can highlight these things when you have tournaments or when you have esports happening at scale. So I would credit tournaments, esports scene as one of the big drivers for Axie. And we're actually having a tournament on Saturday as well, which a lot of our community members are excited about. So it has become that level of, it delivers that level of excitement to the community, which fuels just everything that happens within the game.
Yeah, for us, I think esports is immensely important. The game itself is player versus player, so any competitive game like that, I think in order to sort of foster and grow the community, you need to give them something to strive for, and esports is the perfect form of competition. I think that you can bring players up the ranks from, I just downloaded the game, I don't know what this is, I'm learning how to play, to now I'm a pro, maybe making a living, millions of dollars in your team's case, playing a certain game. I think that's kind of the dream when people first start playing the game, and if you have a game that can help enable that, it's super important to foster that community. And I think that it's our job as a studio, as game creators, to sort of help push that narrative so that the community can win with us.
Yeah, as long as we're making multiplayer games, I think esports is gonna continue to be very important. And just like Koji said, I think as long as you have a game with a score and something to compete against, I think esports is gonna be very important in your game's life cycle. As a competitive player myself, we like the term coffee break esports, and I think that's a goal where people can stand in line in Starbucks and just be competing on their phones or just playing a type of game. But adding these types of elements to our game is something that we think about as a team all the time. And yeah, so that's always been part of our kind of creative design process, to think about how to make games more social and how to, eventually, if the game is competitive, add more competitive elements to support, the esports community.
We have a lot of students in the crowd. Anyone want to go into game development? Oh, we have a few up front. Does Web3 introduce anything unique into building an esports program? What is potentially something unique that you already have or contemplate?
The thing I love about that question is it reminds me of how I got into competitive Axie in the first place. So I was a player like everyone else before I joined the team. And I remember this moment where I joined a tournament and it was open for everyone. So I think that's the first part of answer to the question. Most Web2 games or traditional games, you need to be at the top 0.0001% or something. Pardon my math, but you have to be at that level for you to even be part of these tournaments or be invited or participate or even earn or make money out of it, right? But with Axie, a normal person who had a day job, signed up at night, stayed up until 4 a.m., just played, the game, hit top 16, made $300, and I'm like, yo, I'm a pro player, bro. So it made my dream come through from that level, and I think that's the beauty of esports and Web3 gaming. it's for everyone. Like, of course you need some level of skill and commitment, but it's not an environment that gatekeeps opportunities. Web3 is all about opportunities. So anyone out here, we have all these amazing games. You can literally right now try and look at the website, join tournaments, and if you get lucky, you win a prize. And I think that is the future of competitive gaming. Of course, we respect the people who are at the highest level, who have put in the thousands of hours. But it's also pretty fun if everyone else is experiencing the fun and competitive nature of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I also think that one of the huge benefits of Web3 gaming, if you build it correctly, is that all the results are on-chain. So it's really easy to see who the top players are at any given time all around the world. And it's not the records aren't, well, at least in our case anyway, the records aren't really kept by anybody. It's anyone can see who the best players are. So if you're organizing a tournament and you're inviting people, obviously you can see then, okay, these are the people that need to be here because they are literally the best in the world based on these records. And I think another thing that Web3 really brings to the space, it's very good for whatever reason at really fostering and building a really tight-knit community. And I think that sort of stuff is really important when it comes to esports because as much as it's important to have really good players playing the game, you need an audience who's willing to watch and who cares about what you're doing. And I haven't really seen anyone, any other sort of facet of gaming that has as entrenched a community as Web3 does. And so I think that stuff is really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. I think transparency as well is something that's, some of you have touched on is very, it's very specific to Web3. Everything's on-chain. You can see all the play activity. One of the things we experimented as a team was soulbound tokens, achievements, things that can make the experience a little bit more unique for a player, like being able to collect these achievements and tie them to your wallet, having your account. Even if you are completely faceless, anonymous, being able to bring your achievements from game to game is also something that I think is very unique to Web3 and tapping on that as well. Democratizing the prize pools and the raising these prize pools for players. Being able to allow the community to do something like that transparently is quite powerful, I think. I think Valve has experimented with using the community to build up very big prize pools for Dota. But with Web3, you can do that completely trustless, on-chain. I think that's something that I haven't seen teams do, but something that's quite interesting for me.
Hopefully we can see a $50 million Web3 prize pool takes down Dota.
Well, one of the things I actually really want to add that I think is interesting about esports and Web3 as well is that what you can actually do is provide provenance for the assets that you're using. So as an example, if you have, we'll use Parallel as an example, or no, we'll use Call of Duty. If Call of Duty was a Web3 game, and all of the guns had their own sort of token ID, you could potentially buy the gun that actually won an esports athlete, the 2023 championship. And it'd be amazing to be like, no, this is the one. This is the actual gun that he used when he played, or she, and won the tournament. And with Web3, you can, if you're a collector, you can do crazy stuff like that.
Like in sports, right? Like if Steph Curry worn jersey and those go sell for really high.
Yeah.
I can't wait for an 8-year-old to take me down with the World Championship gun. How do you, in Call of Duty, there's a lot of tension between building the game for casuals, which help the game studio, right? They want as many people playing the game, but you're competitive, they're the experts, they're the one who inject thousands of hours of effort into your game. How do you think about who you're building for and balance that difference?
That's very tough. That's something that we deal with on a daily basis. And some players would feel bad. Like some players, when they have complaints or feedback, and let's say we weren't able to reply as soon as possible, some of them would feel bad and oh, you didn't take my feedback into consideration because I'm not a popular player, I'm not one of the top players. But that's not really true because we do have an open feedback loop. where we allow players, regardless of their skill level or regardless of their rankings or being pro or whatever, to take an effort, put in their feedback in our in-depth form sheet where they can give their opinion. So everyone is heard, but on the flip side, we also know who the top players are. And we do have casual conversations, sometimes oh, what do you think about this? Because you do have to take into account that the pro players got to that level because they put in the thousands of hours, right? And so they would know the game so much, maybe sometimes even more than the developers, right? So their opinions matter. So it's a tough balance, but what we've seen work is as long as you allow the general community to have their voices heard, give them the platform to share as well, and then when they see the updates after, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that was one of my ideas too. So everyone now is kind of on board. So it's a tough balance, but yeah, I feel like in Web3 specifically, you need to cater and listen to both because the community will be pissed if you don't listen to them.
They're never happy anyways, so.
I don't want to sound, arrogant or whatever, but I'll be honest, as a game designer, the way that we designed Parallel to begin with, I was just what would be the game that I would want to play? What did I find fun? And that's still what I'm doing. I'm obviously taking in community feedback, and I'm humble enough to know that when somebody gives me advice that I didn't think of, and I'm oh, that's a good idea, I'm just going to do it because I'd rather the best idea win than my idea win. But for the most part, I just evaluate it with the lens of do I think it's fun? And if I think it's fun, I think the rest of the community is going to be on board with it because the game sort of started based on what I thought was fun. So that's kind of how I evaluate it. And obviously, I'm not at the highest levels of our game. A lot of people think oh, the guy who made the game has got to be good at it. I'm actually terrible at Parallel. But I can understand in theory what makes a good card at a high level, right? And so I try and balance both views, but at the end of the day, it's just if I think it's fun, then hopefully the rest of the players will as well.
Yeah, I think it depends on the stage of development. I think as well. For us, it's a big learning that I think when you are kind of formulating the pillars of the game, try to decide and pick one audience that you want to focus on and not try to straddle both because I think it's just not focused. So, like Koji said, if you want to build a very hyper competitive experience that you want to play, focus on building that first. And later in the life cycle, when you figured out that core loop, when you figured out, okay, this is, I think this is a competitive experience that I would like to play, then figure out how do you onboard the next, billion users. Because I think, if you look at the Web3 gaming landscape now, the audience that we want to tap into, the mainstream audience, is still probably not here yet. So as game developers, I think it's doing a disservice if we dumb down mechanics, if we dumb down games. So let's try to build the best products, the best games, and figure out the onboarding process together as a community of Web3 developers.
We're out of time, but very quickly, 10 seconds each. What should the audience be excited about for anything esports related coming up with your respective games?
Okay, so we do have a tournament on Saturday, but the registration is already full, but we're giving out over $1 million pesos for that as prize pool, so that's exciting for those who actually signed up. And then of course we will be having more tournaments, especially now that Axie Classic is back. So if you are an Axie Classic fan, look forward to that. And of course for Origins as well. So more tournaments coming your way from Axie and Ronin Games.
With Parallel, we're just about to spin up our partner program and start our sort of monthly tournament schedule so that we can get our esports up and running, which will culminate in a world championship at some point. So, and the game's super new, so anyone who joins can still be competitive. Please join and check it out.
Yeah, for Mighty Action Heroes, we're running regular tournaments and raffles on, you can check out our socials, and we're rolling out a feature that's 1v1. I think we're calling it challenge matches, and that will allow you to compete for real money prizes. So keep an eye out for that update.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rohit, Nix, Koji, and Abel. So one of the sound bites that I really liked from that conversation was when Nick said Web3 gaming doesn't gatekeep opportunities. I really like that. Thanks for that. All right, for our next topic, we might wonder, what does it take to develop action-packed games in the Web3 space? Get a glimpse into the minds crafting the next wave of games, launching with blockchain at its very core. For this session, we have Eric Nicomedes of leading Web3 Investors Partner Group, joined by Arif Udiasa, CEO of Mythic Protocol, developer of Riftstorm, Kei Chiyano, Chief Creative Officer of MetaX, developer of Dark Machine, and last but not the least, Pavel Baines, Executive Producer of Mixmob.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone. Hope you're still enjoying. We're gonna talk a bit about games. So we have an interesting panel here today with a, couple of founders who are building games in Web3, and curious to hear their thoughts on building in the space and whatnot. And I guess before we begin, maybe you guys can give a brief intro of the games you guys are building and what stage you guys are in the development of your games. Maybe Arif, we can start with you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Arif. I'm coming from Mythic Protocol. We are the developer of Riftstorm. Basically, I'm also a hardcore gamer. So we just do our playtest and then we get a lot of feedback that streamers come to me and say, oh, I just download the game and I only want to test the game, but I end up didn't sleep in the morning. So I really get that a lot, and I reminded me to my days playing games almost 2 days nonstop. So Riftstorm basically is just, we want to make a game that you could play with friends. It's a cross-platform multiplayer games that you could play on mobile, PC, and console, and it's actually connected. Because we just want to be game with friends. And the game itself is Diablo. Imagine like Diablo or Hades, but with guns. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Really nice to be here.
Hey everybody, my name is Kei Chiyano. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at our company MetaX. We are from Japan mostly, and we are developing a game called Dark Machine. Our company focuses on Web3, specifically esports competitive games, and we are building Dark Machine right now on PC. It is a 7v7 team-based shooter, and it's third person, and we've got mechs. They get bigger. It's almost like a Russian doll, so like a small mech goes into the medium mech and then goes into the large mech and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the more bigger you get, the more destructive you get. So yeah, come check out our trailer. We just released it on our socials. But yeah, Dark Machine is the game.
Hey everybody, my name is Pavel, executive producer from Mixmob. So Mixmob, best way to describe it, who's played Mario Kart here? All right, I see some of your hands. Wouldn't it be so much better if you can gamble on it? That's what Mixmob is. We've taken Mario Kart style characters, they're robots, you train them, they're like Tamagotchi style, they become your best friends, Star Wars style, they're like, Wall-E, Big Hero 6 designed, and then you just race against each other, you get to gamble, you get to win money, like poker, every time you win, you get money back, and then you take that, and our arenas where you race actually become DeFi liquidity pools, where if you stake it in there, you get even more money and refer more friends to race in your arenas and even make more. So it's Mario Kart with Magic the Gathering and gambling.
Gotcha, super interesting. And obviously at Spartan, we're very familiar with everyone on this panel. I guess I want to talk a bit more about game design and how you guys are thinking about designing the games in Web3. I guess part of the reason you guys are on this panel is because you have an extensive experience in Web2. Arif, with your time at Agate International, Keiichi, you with Leona Interactive, and obviously Pavel with your time at 3Wave. I guess, what are some of the complexities that you guys found building in Web3 as compared to Web2? And obviously, with the ever-changing space, I'm sure you guys encountered roadblocks along the way. And how did you guys, face these challenges, right?
For us, actually, the challenges weren't that big. Technology is technology. Gamers can adapt. If you have a good game team, they can adapt and implement any technology. Figuring out tokenomics or game economies, these guys have been doing that their entire life. They worked on FIFA, Halo, things like that. I would say, instead of the challenges, the nice things about, I guess the biggest thing was having a community and building in public was a new experience for our team. So getting it, like, if they worked at EA, there's no way you can allow to talk to a community and get feedback on Discords. They'd be like, are you crazy? Like, you don't release so early. So I think they took that challenge as something really cool to experience. So I would say that was it. Like, building live with a community all the way through has been challenge but fun.
Anything to add, Arif or Keiichi?
I think for us, the biggest challenge, and actually also our biggest happiness, is when the Web3 community asks us, is this a Web3 game? So I think if we achieve that, that means that we're able to kind of make everything seamless, that even like even the Web3 users, Web2 gamers play it, they didn't feel it. It's just a game that you could like have fun with your friend, and then you're also able to contribute and then get an upside on top of it. So I think our goal is to build that. So we want to make everything seamless, so everybody could try. I think that's the goal, like making everyone say, is this the Web3 games? Yeah, so that's the goal, actually.
Got it.
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of people, they come and ask you, well, what is the utility of your token, right? And I think one of the big challenges that, traditional game developers like us face when we go into Web3 is thinking about, how we bring that value to a token. It's not just like, well, we could do that in like mobile or social or, whatever it is. So how you bring that value, why it makes sense to have a token, and then integrating that well into the game design, I think is really important, especially with skill-based games. It's not just about leveling up your character and then your character is strong, so there's like immediate value there. You as the player need to bring that value in addition to that. So I think those are the challenges you might face in a skill-based game, but at the same time, that's how you might want to build up your token value as well.
Got it. And on that point, right, on building skill-based games, obviously that's the title of the panel, but I wanted to double-click more on that point, right? Can you guys talk a bit more about why do you think it's so important to have this sort of aspect within the game? Having looked into your games in particular, there is some sort of skill involved. Yeah, can you talk a bit about like why, this is very important to you guys, and why do you think, and how do you, I guess, make that balance, right, of, having it be skill-based, but also cater to a wider audience and not, have too much barriers to entry for like newer players who aren't as skilled, right?
I guess I'll go. Yeah, I think one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to do kind of the next iteration of play to earn, kind of we call it skill to earn. Essentially, if you want a kind of medium to long-term health of your tokenomics, it's not enough that you just kind of give everybody money. You have to have your players invest their resources, whether it be time, money, whatever it is, to get good at a game. And once I think players get good at a game, that's where you start seeing your retention go up, and that's what contributes to the value, I think. So, and skill-based games, it's really kind of, I dare say, kind of easier to do because you're kind of relying on the player to get good, and that in turn, requires them to spend some resources. So, yeah, in that sense, I actually think that skill-based games fit better with Web3 models than maybe perhaps some others, but we'll see. I'm sure there's lots of room for lots of genres too. So,
yeah, for us, skill-based games. I mean, we fundamentally believe that games are a way for people to make money, earn, actually prove that out there, and there's a lot of ways you can run with that. And skill-based games are a big thing. We also found that people want to compete, they like to play against each other, but they want to win stuff back. And touching on making it fun is a major thing. So some of our team members, they actually worked on Poker Stars when Poker Stars started dropping down. And what they realized was poker, even though you can win money and you play poker, it's a very, very boring game because you fold like 95% of the time. And the good players know that. So some of our team members, our CEO, Simon, he was actually brought in to gamify it, make it better, so it actually goes more to a masses. It actually ended up pushing the whales out, which is okay, because people had more fun, they could compete better. But Poker Stars didn't really care that the whales got pushed out because their overall numbers started rising up. So it's a delicate balance, but you definitely want to achieve that type of level of play.
I think I want to focus more on your balance part because for us in LIVESTREAM, the goal is to make a game that you could play with friends. So ideally, like even like my friend that only play Candy Crush, and also my esport player that play Dota very hardcore, it's also my friends. Like we need to play together. So it takes us almost like 2 years to build a game that even like a Dota player also not say this game is too easy, but the Candy Crush player also able to pick up in the game and have fun. I think by establishing that kind of mechanic, we're able to allow everybody to participate first on the game before like settling on the earning element, because we believe that someone able to earn something on top of the economy if they contribute something. For example, for this kind of game, why skill matters to earn? Basically because if you are skillful enough, you will play with others that ask you to play with them because you are good. So the benefit is that people enjoy the game more because you're good. I think that's how we kind of approach, because if we make economy by creating some like value out of thin air, it's very hard to make it sustainable. But if we make the value by creating the demand side first, because people love the game and they just want to play with better players, then it's more sustainable. I think that's how we approach it.
Got it. And I'm curious now in terms of like the Web3 aspects, right? Because obviously you guys are seasoned game developers in Web 2. There's always the question is why move into Web 3? Obviously, you know, we've seen a lot of projects. They have different ways of integrating blockchain technology within their games. So I'm curious, what are some of the more exciting aspects of Web 3 that you guys are introducing into your own titles? And yeah, how are you guys doing so to make the experience, you know, much better for players?
For us, obviously, building a real economy is a cool thing, and I don't think you can do that in a traditional game. So the blockchain handles that. The big one we found was cheating. Somebody else brought it up in a different panel too. Like traditional games, there's a lot of cheating that happens, whether it's poker, esports, whatever. Blockchain can actually validate those results. So like I said, in our game, Mixmob, you're racing in it, and you get wins and losses, and people can speculate and gamble. Having it on chain and having those results gives people the assurance that, okay, those are true, and when I enter the money in, it gets paid out properly and no one's cheated. So I would say that would be probably one of the bigger benefits for our style of game.
Yeah, for us, for Dark Machine, yeah, we're trying to decentralize esports itself by actually taking tournament organization from like large corporations and publishers where it typically used to be, and give that power to the user. So what we will do is we're actually going to match sponsors with users as they build up their own tournaments, and they'll be able to sponsor them, host them, and players will be able to join on those. So I think that's where having your own token ecosystem really makes a lot of sense, because you essentially decrease all of the latency and the lag and all those issues that you might face if you were just doing it kind of traditional, you have your traditional FX drag and stuff like that. So yeah, that's one thing we're really excited about with Web3.
I think for us, I think for the interest of time, I'll talk about the NFT side. So we're trying to build the intangible value of an NFT, because most of the discussion now is what is the utility of the NFT? What is the tangible value? But the beauty about entertainment is the intangible. So we introduced a concept we call legacy. So for example, this is an MMORPG world, and there's a raid of a very big black dragon. And then let's say, Eric, you come, and then you come to the game just a beginner player. You use a iron sword. You manage to get the last hit, and then your iron sword evolve with the blood of the black dragon. And then it has some utility. For example, like black dragon damage plus 30%, but this is the only sword that you use on the first Black Dragon event that's only appears once a year. So that intangible emotional value, when we do our market research, it's way more valuable. Like even though someone want to purchase $10,000, no, this is the first. This is my pride. I want to tell my grandkids that this is the first sword that I use. So I think that concept resonates a lot with gamers. So we want to build on top of that. So building intangible value on NFT.
Got it. That's very exciting. And in terms of, I'm curious on that point, right? Because obviously, Web3 is great and all, and we see the potential. But at the end of the day, we're building a game, and building games are very difficult. And I'm sure you guys know that better than a lot of us here. And so I'm curious, what are some of the lessons that you guys took from your experience in Web 2 that has helped you in terms of building out your Web3 game? And what are some of the things that you think maybe other founders in the space who aren't maybe as experienced take for granted?
I think it's only one. Focus on the gamers, not the industry. Because usually the industry misled us with the bubble, but the gamers always stay true to what they believe in, and the feedback is always direct. So focus on the gamers, and that's our focus.
Yeah, I kind of second that. I would say, having a fun game first and foremost is the most important thing, because that's why gamers are eventually going to come and stay on your platform and your game. So yeah, focus on making the best fun game that you can, and then the rest kind of comes as a package. So.
My takeaway would be, if you're going to do this, creating games is content. Content is based on talent. It's not, these games aren't tech. You don't take a code, you can't fork it, you can't just hire it out. I've watched action movies my whole life. Doesn't mean I can make Fast and Furious tomorrow. People just assume that a game is tech and I can do it. No, if you don't have skills, I can't make a rap album, I can't make a movie. If you don't have that talent, you don't have talent. So gaming is content, it is highly skilled, it's a competitive place. So learn to have that talent, go work at a game company to learn that. But if you think you can just jump in and do it, you'll just fail like the million other game studios or rappers out there trying to make it.
Yeah, very well said, guys. Well, we're out of time, and I think that's a great way to end the panel. And I want to thank my panelists again for taking the time today. And yeah, hopefully you guys learned something new today. So, yeah.
Thank you, Eric, Arif, Keiichi, and Pavel. So we talk about skill-based games. We have a few more panels to go. It's going to be, again, very jam-packed afternoon. Later we'll talk about user acquisition, creator content, again, Web3 and esports, and lastly, scalability. So we have a lot to unpack still this afternoon. So we've heard from a number of speakers reference the importance of identity and user acquisition in the world of Web3. Now, we take a deep dive into this topic with a co-founder of Click, Jaden Rafael Tan. Jaden is going to be joined by Laura Shi, Head of International Expansion at Linea, Mehdi A, Technical Sales Lead of Polygon ID, and Gabi Dizon, co-founder of YGG.
Hello. Okay, I guess we'll dive into it. Hi everyone, thank you for coming today to take the time to join us at the panel. Before I let the panelists introduce themselves, though I think they need very little introduction. It's an amazing host of them today. I just want to say quickly how special it is that we can have an identity talk here at a large gaming conference, right, held by YGG. It's all thanks to Gabby and his support towards the cause of identity. We've been speaking a lot, I think, between the three of us and all of our teams about how identity can really unlock, is a moving piece, right, in that next part of unlocking user acquisition in gaming, helping games find the right users, helping them reach the next 1 million users. So we're very excited to be able to share that here with you guys. So quickly, why don't we start with some self-introductions? Laura?
Sure. My name is Laura. I lead international expansion of Consensus. Quick intro of Consensus. We have MetaMask, we have Infura, and now we have Linea as a ZK EVM layer 2. I take care of the social and gaming use case for Linea, basing on the belief that when we talk about social and gaming, it has to be localized.
Hi, I'm Gabi, co-founder of YGG.
Hello, my name is Mehdi. I'm technical sales lead for Polygon ID.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dive into it. I want to start with a more general question. How does everyone see the identity space growing in the last 1 or 2 years? What are some breakout points or special plays or technologies or projects in identities that you guys have seen that you've really loved, just to help everyone set the stage and better understand what identity is? Laura, maybe we can...
Sure. From a network perspective, I think we note the product facing the issue for identifying the user's behavior or the user's identification on chain is more about our ecosystem, the developers or the dApps in our ecosystem. let's say, let's take a game use case as example. We have a lot of indie game developers today come to Linear, and they have this big problem about who should the users, or let's say on-chain addresses they should target. And that is actually the starting point for us to explore the current dynamic today in Web3. We see tons of protocols today targeting making identification happening in this network, in this ecosystem. However, we all believe that Web3 should do something different, especially when we talk about users' identification. There's a privacy issue, there's a mass adoption issue, there's also about personal information. How can we utilize that to serve better the end user, but at the same time not have their personal information compromised? So with this conversation tied with each other, we end up partner, on the one hand, introduce our own public goods, which is called the Taxation Varix, and Clicks is now one of our key partner for our Varix.
Yeah, so for us at YGG, we come at this more from the lens of user reputation more than identity itself. So we started a questing program called the Guild Advancement Program last year, where our Web3 community plays different games, and then once they finish the quest, they get a soulbound token achievement. So a soulbound token, or SBT, is a non-transferable NFT that is in their wallet, which is a proof of achievement of doing something. So it looks like a gamer achievement. There's a title, there's graphic, but there's also metadata on what they have achieved. And as a player going through our community, playing these quests, minting these achievements, you start forming an identity of what you've achieved in Web3. And this is very important for us because we're trying to prove the value of the players in our community and saying, are you, good at strategy games? Are you good at esports? Are you a content creator? Are you a moderator? And doing that informs the games of what types of players are in the community and how much they've contributed. Another really important topic for us is proof of uniqueness. When we do something, for example, like set out rewards, give rewards to players who finish quests, it's not fair if someone creates 10 wallets, for example, 10 accounts, and then receives the rewards 10 times. So that means that most of the value accrues to the people who are gaming the system rather than basically getting these rewards as an individual. So we want to make sure that as much as possible, we're giving these rewards to unique persons, and that is a very important thing in our ecosystem as well.
Okay, and if I want to say the changes that happened during these 2 years, I think that the first one is that we are having more panels about identity. That's the one thing that is really improvement. That means that people are talking about it, they understand the need about identity. There is a place for it now. And then regarding the development side, I think that the civil attacks are something that people are thinking about it, how to solve it. There are many ways of doing it. And in Polygon ID, we are trying to keep the privacy for the users and solving these kind of problems that are already out there. Since when we talk about blockchain, everyone thinks that everything should be visible and everything should be on-chain, but we are saying that not everything should be on-chain. There is a solution for these problems by keeping the privacy of the users at the same time. So that's the core thing that I think that it's driving at this moment, the privacy. And that's it, yeah.
Yeah, Mehdi, 1.5 years ago, no one wanted to talk to us, right? We were just on Zoom calls with each other every 3 weeks.
Exactly.
But yeah, awesome. Kind of the next question I wanted to bring up was, one of the reasons that identity hasn't been at the forefront until recent years is because we haven't been able to find some strong use cases, right? That's why, again, we're very excited to be here with ecosystems like Linear, with great guilds like YGG, starting to see the value and use cases of identity. That's when projects like myself and Mehdi's project can really start to make a difference with our technology, right? So Mehdi, why don't we start with you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on how identity can really power user acquisition in a meaningful way.
Well, I think that the first part is that we should give back the data the users own to them and let them manage it themselves, not the central databases manage it for them. So that's the first thing that we should give to them and then decide what we can do with on top of that. And another use case that I think is for reputation, for identity, for proof of humanity, proof of uniqueness. These are all the use cases that are already out there, but it's not managed by the users themselves. So we are saying that the users should manage it themselves, and that's the first thing that is come to top of my mind when I talk about that.
Gabby?
Yeah, so games that partner with YGG do it as a form of user acquisition. They want YGG to gather a community, such as many of the players here, and go on quests in these different games. And hopefully, if they like these quests, they stay in the game, they start contributing, they pay for assets within the game, mint some assets. So these are all very important. And if you look at games and apps in general, user acquisition is always on the forefront. How can I get my game in front of more users? If I'm paying to bring users to my game or my platform, what kind of users do I want? So this is where reputation becomes very important. And so us for be able to know, even on the gaming side, what genres do you play? Do you like to pay when you're inside the game? Have you bought any kind of skins or cosmetics? Are you contributing in other ways, maybe by content creation or esports, community moderation? These are all very important topics for us. And even if you are a player who doesn't pay for anything in the game, these different kinds of contributions are very important. And it's something that we want to actually put as your reputation because it helps you get better access to games. And this is what the games are looking for us when we say we can bring players to your platform or to your game.
Yeah, and it's so exciting we get to start here, right? Like Jihoz said yesterday, this is the mecca of Web3 gaming. But yeah, Laura, would love to hear your thoughts as well.
I think from our understanding, when we talk about monetization of the game, it's more about keeping the relationship between the players and the game ecosystem, the game content itself more sustainable. Saying when we have a heavy game player who has been playing, let's say, Axie Infinity for years, you do want any game that want to target Axie Infinity players to efficiently reach you out and not only understand that this content may be attractive to you, but also want to give you certain privilege for you to encourage you to play the game. The problem today we see is that there has been a lot of projects trying to solve this issue. However, we don't have a standardized I want to use the word database that's easy to understand. We don't have a standardized format that's easy for any developer to introduce a new game with a small group of people trying to figure out where are they or how, let's use labeling as a term populating Web 2. So what we are doing as a Varix, as an aggregator of this identification is that all this information on the one hand, it's generated through ZK proof. But on the other hand, it is also information you are willing to make it publicly available in terms of you want to make it publicly available that your address, the people behind your address is a heavily gamer. And that is actually not only improve the monetization of the game content, but also most importantly, make people or projects that believe that you could also be the target player of this game that can attract you efficiently or reach out to you efficiently. That's the beautiful part of Varix being an aggregator.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're on the point of standardization, right, I'd love to flip the script, start with Laura again and go back. What is a core piece of technology or a core piece or a core data set that you guys think is extremely important to us reaching the next stage of identity in gaming?
I would say the most important thing from a tech perspective is actually standardization. In order to introduce a solution that's capable to be mass adopted today in Web3, and we all expect there will be another boom market in 2 years. The most not only efficient way, but also making or ensure a healthy development of this ecosystem is that we need certain standards to be introduced or aligned among not only within the business that working on identification, but also within the entire value chain. That is actually from our understanding, the crucial part for us to move the identification use case in Web3 to the next part of the journey.
Yeah, do I agree with standardization? I think it goes back to, I think for me the answer would be attestation, which would make Jaden very happy, actually. And attestation is only a fancy way of saying, if I gave you this credential, I can prove it that you did this. If I gave you my diploma from Ateneo, then Ateneo can prove that I actually studied in that school. And of course, it could be from, where you studied, did you take any certifications? We are starting with this with gamer achievements because it's very easy for gamers to understand what achievements are. We have achievements on Steam, on Xbox, so name any gamer platform, right? But these achievements are actually attestations. I did something in game. And combining that with us publishing these attestations as soulbound tokens, non-transferable tokens in your wallet, it means that you can prove that at least this wallet or the person controlling this wallet did this achievement. So that's very important, and I think that will allow us to really scale user acquisition in Web3 gaming. And the bigger thing that we need to prove that we've been talking about with this group is how can we prove that it's a unique person, proof of humanity or proof of uniqueness. Then you can confidently say, I will give you $1,000 if you're able to achieve this in the game, and you know that you're giving it to one person or you're giving it to someone who's not farming the same reward multiple times.
Yeah, to add to those things, I think that the user experience is another core thing that we should always take care of it, because the less friction it is, it's easier for the users to engage with it. For getting the users on board, the process should be very simple and easy, and they should not understand about everything that happened on the back, the technology, the standard identification. So all these things should be kind of invisible for them to understand it better.
Awesome. So last question to wrap up. I guess in one sentence from each of you guys, starting with Laura, you guys represent the largest brands in crypto, some of the largest brands in crypto. What is something you guys look for in your identity partners or your partners as you guys move towards identity and user acquisition?
Cover the social behavior today in the real world. That is actually social and gaming.
Yeah, so for us, we really just want to bring all kinds of user reputation, whether it's coming from Web3 or it's coming from your Steam account or Xbox account, or maybe if you have credentials that you have, maybe I attended a seminar and I can prove that I attended that seminar. We really want you to be able to bring your reputation, not necessarily your identity, because I want you to prove that you're helpful to the community while still being an anonymous gamer, for example. And this is something that we're really pushing for in the next year.
Yeah, I think that I will just push it again, that work on the UX. UX should be minimized, it should be very simple for the users to understand it. That will be the way to the adoption.
Yeah, working on the UX alone is hard enough. I think that's something Mehdi and I are very aware of. But yeah, I think that brings us to the end. I want to thank you guys for being on stage with me today, and thanks to the audience for tuning in. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Gabby, can I call on you for a bit? I'm going to do a bit of ambush interview. I think we need a camera. We need a photo shoot for a bit. And then I'm going to do an ambush interview with Gabby, because this is, after all, a YGG Web3 Gaming Summit. So I asked ChatGPT what to ask you. If there's one question that I need to ask you, ChatGPT said I should ask you, what's your most fun, most memorable in-game experience that you're most proud of?
Oh my God, in-game experience. It's probably playing Axie Infinity with my son 2 years ago. Because I was using my son as my scholar, and he was earning...
Your son is
my personal Axie scholar.
Your personal Axie scholar, all right.
And he was earning SLP for me, and I was paying him in ETH. So he actually learned how to use a crypto wallet through playing Axie.
How old is your son?
He's 14, and he was like 11 years old at that time. And through that, we learned how to use like crypto, like Uniswap, for example. And we were actually able to receive the Uniswap token, which was a lot of money at that time.
All right, I think I'm going to ask your son to teach me how to do all of that.
You can definitely do that.
Thanks, Gabby. Appreciate it. Thank you for the panel, for the panelists. Very insightful. As always, thank you, Jaden, Laura, Mehdi, and Gabby. All right, Web3 has seen a major shift in the go-to market model for many games, with much of the traditional advertising spend moving to more community-based engagement where streamers and influencers lead the way. From our panel of experts, we learn how to make it a streamer and how games and brands can work with streamers to reach new audiences with maximum lasting impact. Moderating this session is a long-standing member of the Crypto.ph community, Mike Abundo, along with these three amazing guests, Our panelists for this afternoon are Ian Mercado, Creator and Talent Development Lead of YGG Pilipinas, Yellow Panther, Web3 Gaming KOL, and we invite back on stage Jared Dillinger, founder of Daredevil Media.
Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone doing good? Good. Who here watches streamers? Video game streams on Twitch, Facebook? Raise your hands. Wow, a lot of us, obviously, including some of the streamers here, which is great. We have with us right now some great Web3 content creators, heralds of the frontier, and I'm sure a lot of you already know these people, but just to recap, maybe you could tell us a little more about yourselves.
Hi guys, good afternoon, GM. Yes, I'm Ian. I'm a content creator. I'm also a talent lead for YGG. I do love guiding future content creators on how they approach things in the social media world. Yeah.
What is up, everyone? Yellow Panda here. I'm a Web3 gaming content creator. I'm so happy to be here once again in Philippines, and you guys are awesome, you guys are amazing, but basically I make gaming content, I cover alphas, I cover gameplay, and I share a lot of my insights, right? So that's basically what I do, and yeah.
Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Jared Dillinger, professional athlete for Barangay Ginebra. Thank you. I do have a media company called Daredevil Media. I have a successful basketball podcast out here in the Philippines. Also have a new CNN Philippines show called The Future. I'm also a Web3 influencer, kind of a jack of all trades type of guy, but hey, I love doing all this stuff, so thanks for having me, you guys.
Oh, thanks for the introductions, although obviously a lot of people already here know you. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about, because I'm familiar with you, Ian, from, a cosplay and streaming pioneer, Yellow Panther, Jared, basketball career, Jared, also, Yellow Panther, also a streamer. I'd love to hear more about how you guys have established yourselves as Web3 content creators.
Yeah, so I think my Web3 content creating started when Axie emerged, because that's when the streaming for Web3 in the Philippines really peaked. Right. So when I had my own scholarship program, I did streaming and content around Axie, and then I cosplayed Axie characters.
First Axie cosplayer in the Philippines,
that's the
by the way.
first ever. I did have like an idea.
In the world, the first Axie cosplayer in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big shout out to Jihoz, because he's the one who supported me to do that.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Jihoz. Yeah.
Thank you, Jihoz.
Thank you, Jihoz. Papa Jihoz. So yeah, after that he messaged me like, hey, that's a good idea. Do it. Yeah, so the rest was history.
Awesome. Yellow Panther, tell us, YP, tell us more about how you've established yourself as a Web3 content creator.
Right, so basically I started like Yen too as well with Axie. I was one of the top 200, top 100 leaderboard back then. I was with CTG and then with MTA for a bit. But basically after that, I tried to dabble what's outside of Axie, like the Eren Yeager scene, freedom. After the wall, what is it outside? I was so curious, right? So I dabble into Magic ecosystem, I dabble into Arbitrum, I dabble into many other different, other ecosystem like Immutable and stuff like that. Then I begin to learn, and then I share what I learned to my audience. And that's ultimately, I share it in a very simple way to make them understand and, ultimately share also a lot of gameplay and video content. But it's also not so serious content, like people say, okay, this is how you do this, no, I'm not like that, okay? But I'm like I would say very random. I like to express myself in video format, but like when it comes to threads, right, it's very insightful. But basically, I do that very consistently, and nowadays, a lot of people know my brand, Yellow Panther, and They all ask me why don't I have a pink hair in real life? Because my PFP is pink, right? So yeah.
Yeah, your content is it's very fun, very engaging. You know, you have a unique style. I love it. And as a Magic holder, I'm glad you're promoting our stuff in a fun way. JD, I'd love to hear more about how you've established yourself as a Web3 content creator.
Yeah, just like a lot of us, I got into it during the pandemic. As an athlete, your life revolves around your sport. So when the world stopped, I actually had time to dabble into something aside from sports. My origin story originally was that I got into Sandbox, bought some pieces of land, bought some CyberKongs, bought a couple spaceships from Star Atlas, went down that rabbit hole, loved everything about it, the community, the Discord. I thought, man, this is fun. This is like video gaming for back in the day, but you can really do this and make a job out of it, right? I went to Coins.ph, pitched to them that, hey, you guys, it seems like there's something big coming along. Let me be your KOL. Let me help educate the masses and make really fun, relatable content for everyone to understand and onboard onto this big journey that we're all having fun on. I blinked 3 times and it's full on making content all over the place, and I've been having fun ever since.
Awesome. That's your courtside crypto project with Coins.ph, right?
That's correct, yep.
Awesome. Explaining it, explain the basics, right?
Yes, yeah, just mere basics. We made like a funny music video, just anything just to make it easy, accessible, or just to help onboard people with just general knowledge, that's all.
That's great, that's very necessary. Yeah. Since you know, I'm glad you've been able to share how you got into it, how you've established yourselves. From your perspectives, since you clearly have diverse backgrounds as creators, as entertainers, how is creating content for Web3 different from Web2? I mean, you're gaming and cosplay. You've been there forever. You know, you're an institution. Yellow Panther. You've done gaming streams. JD, you've done sports, gaming, all that stuff. What is different about creating Web? What are the differences when creating specifically Web3 gaming content?
For me, I think most of my audience are age range is around they're young people. So educating them is very important about having their own assets, especially online. So once I tell them Web3 is different from Web2, it's clearly making them realize that this is more than just a game, but it prepares them for their future because it's actually investing, having your own stuff and taking care of it. I mean, if I go really like technical, it would be a very long topic, but technically that's the gist of it, like letting them know that this is having fun and at the same time learning and preparing yourself.
That's interesting. That seems to apply to a lot of crypto. You get into technology, you get into finance, and it's the same with Web3 gaming, right?
Yes. At the same time having fun because you're playing games.
Of course. I love that. YP, from your perspective, what's different with Web3 gaming content?
I think mine's easier because I know my audience is mostly Web3 gamers, investors, whales, and so on. So it's easy for me to just use terms that is normal in our industry, right? Like you know like how I promote and share about Magic ecosystem and so on, because I really like it and stuff like that. So to me, it is purely Web3. But if I step outside of X and Twitter, it's a whole different ballgame, right? Like Ian is very good in Instagram and also TikTok, right? You have to speak a different language and to cater to those audience, right? My friend down there, Eliza, she has a really good TikTok, sharing value clips and so on. But on Twitter, she is a whole other strategy and whole other lingo and so on. So for me, it's easy.
Okay, so it's more of the deep in the weeds stuff, right? Awesome. JD, I'm sure your perspective on this is very unique, given your background. Maybe you could share what makes Web3 content creation different.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to unpackage. You know, when you play video games in general, it's a way to escape, right? You're escaping the real world. And when we're talking about Web3 and we're talking about the metaverse, that is somewhere you can go and be someone different. You can be anyone that you want to be. And obviously, this is a new industry that's forming, and it's turning into something that we can't even fathom. It's turning into something really big. And I think with Web3 games, especially out here in the Philippines, you know, we have a high sense of escapism out here. We really want to get away and play these types of games, and they're life-changing. Like, just like what these guys are saying about the whole Axie Infinity surge, it changed a lot of lives. So I think with the new industry forming and how we're really the spearhead of this, of making content and showing everyone on a periscope of what these games are and how cool they are and how they can change your lives and you can escape into the metaverse. I think that's something special, and I think that's being a part of something bigger than yourself. And I think it's a really cool journey to be a part of. Like, I'm happy to just be up here with you guys, and we're talking about video games, you know? And people are here listening to us conversing about Web3 games. So I'm really excited, I'm really happy, and man, future holds bright for us.
That is very profound. This really is something special. I love how you guys focus on different kinds of content for different kinds of audiences. Since the topic of this talk is what drives type of content that drives adoption, I'd like to hear from each of you, specifically, since you've talked to audiences, you know your metrics, you know what drives engagement on your channels. Specifically, what kind of content drives adoption with your specific audiences? Let's start with you, Ian.
Mine is a bit diverse and very touchy with the Gen Zs. Touchy with the Gen Zs. Nowadays, I've been studying the market, and I mean, not the market, but rather than how the algorithm works of each of social medias. One thing I know that everyone wants fun, wants something entertaining. So if you adopt to that, you would get that algorithm. So something fun and entertaining, but at the same time insightful.
So you maximize entertainment value.
Yes.
Well, you certainly are entertaining in your streams. I love them. Watch your streams, people. YP, tell us, since you mentioned that you go more into the weeds with more of a crypto-native audience, right? So there's adoption, and you're deepening adoption there. What kind of content do you find deepens adoption among your audience?
So there's two, and it's very straightforward. Number one is really good gameplay and really amazing and immersive gameplay. We want to escape this reality, right? Number two is whenever I share something that has incentives and financial gain related topics, such as like NFTs that are coming out with airdrops. I'm sure you guys like airdrops, right? So basically sharing all those alpha and helping them to get their way and, you know, sharing the alpha to them.
Okay, more alpha. Ooh. Entertainment, alpha. I love this combination. JD, on your side, since you explain to the masses, what kind of content do you find drives adoption from them?
I'm going to take a different route on this. I'm not as experienced as you two guys. I'm still finding my barometer or my way in terms of content creation. A lot of people always ask me, like, man, JD, you're doing so many things. You're all over the place. Like, why are you doing a basketball podcast and a CNN show, and you make Web3 content, and so on and so forth, down that rabbit hole, shall I say again. And I'm doing it because I like it. I want to do it. And I want people to know about it because that's what I like. It's very, very simple. And I think when you're getting a community, you are the niche. And they're going to want to follow you because of you. It doesn't matter what I like. I mean, it matters what I like, and I want to show you guys the things that I like. It's that simple. So I'm in a lot of trial and error right now in the moment of just figuring out, like, what's fun to talk about and what's interesting to me that I think the community is going to be interested about. But really, it's these people, these guys.
No,
We're
I was
all the
there too.
niche.
I was there. Last year is what my trial and error. And you
Yeah.
just have to find your way, right? You just take some time. It's part of the content journey.
Right? Yeah, there's no rush, right? You just kind of just go with what works and you just go from there.
Wow. So, entertainment value, alpha, sincerity. These are, okay, those sound like great drivers for adoption. Very, very resonant. I love it. I love it. Since you have so much to offer, clearly you have these things to offer to various projects. In your mind, what would be the characteristics of your dream project? Like, let's say a game came to you and, hey, could you create content about it? What would be the characteristics of your dream endorsement deal? Let's start with you. I mean, since you've done so many endorsement deals since Web2 gaming.
Right now, maybe something that I haven't really got yet. Maybe that's what I
Okay.
can tell you. So I do like cosplaying, I do like fashion. So probably one big company from the fashion industry.
Web3 fashion?
Yes, because I saw like there are NFTs from big brands.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
right? So probably one of them. That's gonna be like a dream come true to be
Wow.
partnered with.
Wow, you could do a fashion show, I guess. That'd be awesome.
So just a different thing. But I do like some of my friends from the Web3 community. They introduced to me like the fashion NFTs.
Okay.
And I got really into it because it's really something new.
Mhm.
But I really didn't dive deep yet. But it's really interesting. So maybe I might tap more of that. Maybe cosplay NFTs. Yeah.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Well, you are the first Axie cosplayer in the world, so you'd be a pioneer there. YP, what would be the characteristics of your dream Web3 game endorsement deal?
Riot Games, Call Me, Square Enix, and RuneScape, Jagex, hello. Okay.
Square Enix, dude, right there. Right there,
Hey,
bro.
Square Enix has a blockchain
Final
game out,
Fantasy,
right?
let's go.
I know, I'm working with them, but I want something more official.
You're working with the Square Enix?
Yeah, let's continue.
Oh my God.
Hey, bro, I gotta talk to you later. Okay.
You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. YP is talking in talks with Square Enix for their blockchain game. JD, on your side, what would be your dream Web3 game endorsement project?
Dude, man, for me, like, I don't really have a direction of my dream. Like, I love playing games in general. I love playing all the games. So you let me stream about it, give me the assets to talk about it, and show everyone how cool the game is. Like, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I just want consumption. I just want a lot of things to keep my brain moving at 100 miles per hour because I can't do anything else without keeping it moving. So give me a bunch of games. I just want to play them all.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you've heard what drives content with their audiences. You've heard what kind of projects they would like to engage with. So all the Web3 game projects here looking for endorsers, you know what their audience likes, you know what they want to do, go talk to them. Throw some deals their way. All right, thank you so much for the insights, guys.
Thank you.
Great talking to you guys. All right, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Mike, for moderating that panel. Thank you, Ian, Yellow Panther, and Jared. So there you have it, the AAA in adoption, authenticity, alpha, and entertainment. Did you get that? That was a Tita joke, sorry. All right, next up is a must-not-miss panel for anyone wanting to build a career in competitive gaming. Learn what it takes to build an esports team and a business around that team. Moderating this session is the head of esports at YGG, Mike Oveka. With our panelists, Rohit Gupta, co-founder of NYXL, welcome back on stage, and Trike Gutierrez, CEO of Tier 1 Entertainment and Blacklist International. Lastly, we have Jamie Peroso, Regional VP of Marketing of Mineski Global.
Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm excited for this panel. We got a lot of esports veterans and OGs, a lot of interesting perspectives. Yeah, first of all, I think we should start off with introductions. Go ahead, Rohit.
Hi, Rohit. I run a New York-based esports organization. We have the world champion Call of Duty esports team.
Hi, I'm Trike Gutierrez, the CEO and co-founder of Tier 1 Entertainment. We also own Blacklist International, which is an esports team. For us, we call ourselves as the first gaming label in the world where we manage influencers on the left and on the right, we own esports teams.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Magandang hapon to the Filipinos. I'm Jamie. I'm the Regional Vice President for Mineski Global. Mineski Global actually started off back in 2004 as an esports team, whereby we grew the business to actually become over and beyond just an esports team, but an overall global, if not regional, if not global entity that caters to both casual gamers and hardcore gamers on a daily basis.
Awesome, great to hear. Now, before we get to the real questions, I'm super interested. How did you guys get into esports actually? How did you end up here?
We were investing in esports or gaming since 2011, and then Activision. Esports tend to be run by third-party tournament operators like ESL and Face It and so forth. And they decided with the revenue growth, they wanted to bring it in-house and started to franchise. And specifically with Overwatch League, they tied it to a city. And we were one of the orgs that looked at it. We had looked at esports until the time, and the worry was the question around IP ownership, something that Web3 doesn't have, but Web2 is a big problem. Is like the publisher owns the IP, and you don't really get to, there's some mutual alignment in monetization of the content because it drives viewership, but like you can't do anything else with it, right? And so lo and behold, it happened with Overwatch, but we ended up believing in that vision and acquired the New York franchise, and that led into the New York franchise of Call of Duty.
Awesome. What about you, Trike?
So for me personally, most likely like everybody else, I was a frustrated pro player. But I think I was born too early for esports. So during the time when I was competing for esports competitions, it was only like once a year. Like events happen only once a year. So because of that, after graduating from college, I decided to contribute more into the industry. I became an event organizer for esports, helped organize the Manila Major way back in 2016, which is one of the 4 biggest events in Dota way back then. And then after that, even before that, I had a stint as a shoutcaster as well for Dota. But right after that, I co-founded a company with my fellow co-founders, and that is Tier 1 today. In 2017, we initially thought that it was purely a talent management play. We wanted to represent players in esports, but we also realized that it was so difficult to get players to sign up with you, to represent them, to talk to other teams and get them to teams just because they didn't need to. They could just go directly to the teams could just go directly to them. And because of that, we opted to build our esports team, which today is technically a one-time world champion for Mobile Legends. And for Dota 2, we just recently qualified for ESL 1 Kuala Lumpur, which is basically the top 12 teams in the world competing in Kuala Lumpur. So I think we've done it pretty well in the past years.
Awesome, congrats. What about you, Jamie?
Oh wow, Mike is walk down memory lane, huh? Now I get date stamped it to see and for people to know how old I actually really am. Okay, so I guess where I started in esports, I'm the most non-endemic to gaming across the panel. I did start in 2007. So my very first job, I was with Philippine Esports. Back then, I was half an accounts person, half production, and also what became known today as a shoutcaster. One of the things that I started off doing was actually help mount World Cyber Games here in the country. And that's actually where I first met Mineski. I was on stage when they won World Cyber Games back in 2007 and 2008. awarded them for them to go to go to Singapore for semifinals and all the way to Cologne, Germany. So that's where I started. Again, walk down memory lane, but hopefully I can contribute to today's discussion.
I'm sure you will. Don't worry, Jayvee. All right, guys. Yeah, so the topic is Web3 and esports. And in general, I think I'd like to start off with the general question of how do you guys envision Web3 technologies, whether that's blockchain or NFTs, influencing the esports industry in the coming years? We can start with you, Rohit.
There were a ton of panels that cover this from a gaming perspective specifically, but I think that esports is about an experience, people both offline and online. And so there's a way to reward fans in various different actions. So let's say you play hours of a game and then therefore you get a free ticket because of that type of stuff to go to the event. Incentive for watching various creators of the game. So I think there's a lot of issues right now with esports because of the cost versus revenue differences, right, especially in the West. And we see Web3 as a potential to sort of move a lot of the make fans actually explore how our team goes, incentivizes viewership and deepen the relationship with the fan, which should drive revenue. So it should fix the business model in some ways from just pure Web 2 ways, but in a Web 3 game, they have a transformational way to engage the fans in creating the esports program itself. They can vote on the bracket, they can vote on who gets invited, they can vote on does YGG, as well as other guilds, they get to run their own tournaments, and if they place on these tournaments, they get invited to the invitational. All of it is very transparent and incentivizes the community to be deeply involved in the way esports comes to life for a particular game.
I think for me personally, just from a technological standpoint, I think what Web3 really brings is the advancement in terms of technology, right? I think one example would be how mobile esports has really changed in the past years. I remember when everybody was still trying to push for PC esports, everybody was really doubtful about, a lot of people was really doubtful about it, right? And then nobody ever thought that mobile games, at least for Southeast Asia, can become what it is today, right? So I think the same way, this new platform, this new technology can really open up new things for at least the games itself. And I think second of all, what NFT brings to the table in terms of fun experiences, like what he said, is something that it can also bring. But I think personally, I don't have a very clear vision of what it can be, but I know that it is a very important tool for esports in the future, given that at the end of the day, it provides a very unique ingredient, which is technically providing someone with a unique digital, asset. So I think with that, let's see how it goes in the next years to come.
Right. I mean, again, I totally agree with both speakers prior myself. If anything, a lot of us grew up as digital natives. A lot of us actually started to purchase things online without us even knowing it. When you buy skins, right? When you go to a shop, we inherently, right, have been gamifying the entire thing and experiencing commerce within the games and platforms that I used to play. Like when I used to play a hell of a lot of Diablo, World of Warcraft, a lot of these things, that behavior was very intrinsic to me as both a gamer, but at the same time as an actual consumer, whereby we take now that particular experience and help demystify this entire thing about Web3. Right? I think there's a lot of layers to unpack, whereby education and proper articulation of what exactly it is and how this can be very intrinsic and of value to both publishers and brand partners could be one route in, right? And we as, people within the industry, people with key opinions and people who actually see the overall ecosystem can very much articulate this, not just as a brand partner, as a publisher, but if anything, even as a consumer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, like from my perspective, like for sure gamers are very digitally native, right? Like even in a game like World of Warcraft, like you had the auction house, right? And that was basically like a market within a market. You had a digital currency called gold that you just couldn't take out of the game. It was just earned within the game. And I think like despite that, there has been some hesitation or reservations from gamers in general, right? Or esports fans to kind of adopt Web3 technologies. Because I think, because of various aspects, right? Like, what do you guys think is the right way to tackle this challenge? And in what ways can we like mitigate this and make Web3 adoption more global and more like at scale from esports fans and gamers in general?
First, the UX experience of Web3 is absolutely horrible, right? Like for most people to like open a wallet, and it depends which chain. You have like 10 different Chrome extensions. You don't know which one to open. Seed phrases, our gamers barely know their password to their computer. That needs to be fixed. And a lot of people have approached it to date from a revenue generating standpoint, which obviously we understand why. But gamers don't want to buy assets that are thousands of dollars in value that obviously have volatility. They just want to play a really good game. So unfortunately in the US, there have been a lot of even prominent esports orgs or creators that have pitched projects that ended up being rug pulls or potentially scams or otherwise. And that, okay, you can sympathize for the first one, maybe they didn't know, but it's happened like 5 different times. So eventually there's like, the audience has been like, the minute you mention NFT, they, without even jumping to the underlying, like taking a deeper look, they're like scam, and other words around it. So hopefully we need to build trust with the audience again and gain that this technology isn't meant to just be extractive, it's meant to be helpful. And we all complain about, changing the meta, or like Warzone 2, my skins don't transfer. A lot of the issues that we as gamers complain on Twitter about, Web3 actually fixes.
Totally.
So just to end it, like basically you just need to, we have a duty to earn the trust back for them to like get show them why this is important.
Absolutely, well said.
So I think for me, the real answer to that is education. Obviously, like we need to be able to educate a lot of people, whether they are the stakeholders of the space or the people who will eventually consume whatever product there is for Web3, right? But I also personally think that the best education is a great experience. So for me, I think the main reason why people will eventually are obligated to educate themselves is based on whatever product that there is in the market that can really push for that innovation. So what I mean by that is, for example, the likes of Axie, for example, really brought a lot of attention to a lot of people in the Philippines before, where everybody learned how to, like create their wallets, eventually create those accounts and things like that, right? And I think adoption just followed when there was a product that people need to kind of like understand, right? For instance, for mobile, there was Mobile Legends, there was Call of Duty Mobile. Like, I think those products at the end of the day are really what pushed people to utilize this new platform and learn from it. So I think from Tier 1 standpoint, obviously we have a product that we're working on, which is basically an NFT around our fan base. But I think for generally in Web3, I think that it needs to be a game, in my opinion. I think a game that will really attract of people and that will provide a real utility and a sustainable economic model is what's really going to push for Web3 to become a norm in the gaming space.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, guys, just again, walk down memory lane. When we would initially pitch esports and gaming, to the likes of a Smart or a PLDT or even a Globe, they would look at us as kids. How do you now convince people across the table that we were going to return their ad spend back then? And this was a good 20 years ago. So I think similar to where esports was, which was a subset within a subset within a subset, Web3 is no different. Now, to echo what everybody said on stage a while ago, education is first and foremost. But experience and value, I feel, also will help envelope all of that and provide that intrinsic need for all of us to be able to be not just spokespeople for this entire industry, but more importantly, the overall value that we can create as an overall organization.
Yeah, well said. I think education is definitely an important aspect of it, and I think like you echoed that as well as you, Trike. What about you, Rohit? Do you feel like, are you guys gonna have to educate your player base or your fan base as well as your players to actually come to terms with this technology? Or do you feel like if the product is good enough, you don't need to do that?
I think it's sort of both. However, I shouldn't have to educate them how to use it. I think I need to educate them why we're using it at this point, because they see it as being like, oh, you're trying to extract something from me. So, but from a UX experience, I shouldn't have to educate them, like you need to download this extension, you need to bridge stuff, you need gas. If I'm gonna do something, we have to handle all of that for them. The patience of gamers, they're extremely fickle. I'm sure most of you drop a game the minute something doesn't work, right? If it's buffering and for 2 seconds, you're like, I'm on to the next thing. So we have to make it super simple. And that's the beauty of this tech. We're in exponential growth and everything's getting fixed. And so I'm very bullish on it. We're not negative in this in any way. And we're fully endorsing the tech.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, I think that concludes our panel. Thank you very much for the panelists. Round of applause. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike, for moderating that. Thank you, Rohit, Trike, and Jamie. Soundbite from this panel. They said, for Web3 to be a norm, the best education is a great experience. That's a pretty cool one. All right, we are now down to our very last session for the day. For our last topic, 2048 ways to scale your game into the millions. We wind down the day with some war stories from Superfine CEO Caldi about the early days of Kixeye, Dots, and Ketchup, and how he saw mobile smash hits like Dots and 2048 skyrocket to millions of downloads. To lead the discussion is the Chief of Staff of Eden Ventures, Sam Cruz. Also, let's welcome on stage our esteemed speaker of this session, co-founder and CEO of Superfine, Chris Calderon.
Awesome. The last session.
Yeah,
Let's
I know.
go.
I just found out. Okay, so today we'll be hearing all about Chris's journey from back when he was still this top-tier performance marketer, and now talking about like what they're doing at Superfine. So let's first talk about your background. I understand that you were an investment banker in the previous life, and then you moved on, established your career, growing games, focusing on user acquisition, growth, and revenue. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, sure. But before I do, I want to quick shout out to someone who's way more interesting than me. Shout out to Gabby and the YGG team. We love you guys. Let's do a round of applause. Yeah, my first time in Philippines, but when Gabby says jump, I say how high, so I'm here. But yeah, a little bit about me. I used to be an investment banker in a previous life, and I was covering internet and digital media. I just found as an early like gamer and game maker, as a young teenager, I was just fascinated with games, and so I was covering the gaming space. And during that time, I found like a really interesting company, and I was mostly doing like M&A advisory, worked on some IPOs, follow-on offerings, that kind of thing. And I found a really interesting company in Australia called Three Blokes. I had like pitched this around to a few different companies. A guy named Will Harbin, CEO of Kixeye, saw the deal sheet, the teaser that I sent him. He decided not to work with me, but he bought the company anyways, and ended up joining him full time after. And so that's how I got into games, basically.
And then after that, you worked with a couple of games like Dots, 2048, and after that, like a bunch of other games as well. Some even went #1 on the App Store. So how exactly were you able to achieve that level of success and then replicate it afterwards towards many other different games that you advise on?
Yeah, very fortunate to work on some really awesome games. Dots and Two Dots. Two Dots was a #1 game in 100 countries. I would say like each company is quite different. With Dots, we really had like an all-star team. There was John Lai, who's now currently leading games at A16Z. We had Steve Sadin, who's now the head of games at Scopely. Paul Murphy, who's the CEO of, or the head of Lightspeed for Europe. Really just like a crazy all-star team behind that company. And it was definitely a team effort. If it wasn't for, I would say, John Lai and Steve Sadin that were able to get the LTV up to what it would be impossible for me to do the user acquisition on that game. So it was definitely a lot of teamwork there. But just a fantastic team and a really good time. At Ketchup, it was and at Dots we had a little bit of a larger team. Eventually, the company got acquired by Take-Two Interactive. Now, Ketchup is a different story, a different beast. Ketchup in 2048 was like a global phenomenon.
I was personally a big fan of that game. I think a lot of people here as well.
Appreciate everyone that's played. And now you can find it in airplanes. It was just like a global hit. So the story behind Ketchup was Michel Morcos, Antoine and Michel Morcos, the two co-founders, had created 2048 on mobile. Previously, it was a web game, and they had acquired the license and were the first to bring it to mobile. It instantly became a global success. And they started getting app developers sending them, requests to publish for us to publish their game. And so, kind of overnight, Ketchup became a games publisher. And so, 2048 was the only game that we ever made, and hundreds of other games that were launched, many of them which became #1, many #1 games, were all published. And I think. In 2014, 2015, top downloads in the App Store were like Apple, Google, Ketchup. So it was pretty phenomenal, and it was a really small team. We were only a 6-person team in total by the time we were acquired by Ubisoft. And in I think it was 2017, Ketchup and Voodoo made up 50% of all gaming downloads in the entire App Store. And some accredit Ketchup to being basically the creators of the hyper-casual category. So yeah, totally different companies, different stories. But yeah, I wish I could take all the credit myself, but it definitely really good teams behind these companies.
So it sounds like you've mentioned a few times one of the most important ingredients in building a successful game would be like a stellar team. But maybe you could share some alpha with some of the builders here and other games that are building their own thing, starting from scratch. Like, what would be your top tips so that they could achieve or maybe get close to that level of success that you've previously reached with your previous projects?
That's a great question. So at Ketchup, we had this rule where we would, if you couldn't make the game within a week, it wasn't worth looking at. And the idea here was like, we wanted to kind of like, and this was early on at Ketchup. I think today this rule doesn't probably exist anymore, but basically the idea was we wanted to like fail fast if possible, and shorten kind of the development cycle to try to get answers to the questions that we were looking for. Is this game marketable? Can this mechanic work? These kinds of things. And so I think one of the biggest advice, the best advice I can give, because I see this kind of happen with a lot of game studios where they're working on a game for a year or for a long time without actually testing it or taking it to market. This is probably the most common mistake I see amongst devs and indie devs. And so getting your game out there and testing it as quickly as possible and trying to fail as quickly as possible is very helpful, because again, Q was up here on stage earlier talking about how they've launched hundreds of games and only like a handful of them ended up being, globally like super successful, right? And this is something that, experienced game makers know that it's extremely hard to make a good game. And so most games are likely to fail. In fact, like if you think about just the math of it, right? Over 10,000 new apps released in the App Store every month. If you get into the top 100, that's like 0.01% of games for making it to the top 100. Just if you just think about the math of it, right? So it's extremely hard. And so trying to fail fast is the best advice I think that I can give to indie game makers and developers.
That's a cool tip, to fail fast, to test your product before you put it out to the market. Because like personally, for me, working with a venture builder and meeting all of these projects and games building earlier on, they really like have this specific passion for what they're building. And I think sometimes that gives them tunnel vision as to regarding testing. So they just try to push it out, make the product work. I think there's a lot to learn from your experience, what you just shared. So aside from, I guess, product testing and focusing on like building a good game, are there any insights or trends that you've seen, especially with the demographics or the markets that you've been tapping into launching all of these games? Because I think in our audience specifically, since we're here in Manila, a lot here are based in Asia, but we also have builders and users from all over the world. So do you see a difference between like Asian users or your Asian target market versus Western, for example? Or are there any specific trends or insights that you have for those?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There are definitely differences based on, I would say, like your game, your content, right? How it's localized or culturalized, and like kind of the target audience that you're trying to reach. And so this was actually something that we learned early on at Ketchup, that it was the most popular character we had was a ball, because it was universally accepted pretty much in every country, right? And no language, 2048 is just numbers, right? It's like everybody can understand numbers adding up. And so to transcend kind of like the barriers of like translation, culturalization, we would remove kind of like themes and text and language to make it more broadly accessible. Now, as you're kind of going away from your main character being like a ball, and into like a character, and you have like a more developed game, maybe slightly more complex. This is where things like localization, culturalization really matter. Everywhere from the App Store page to the game itself, and you really notice this in the metrics. Everywhere from the CTR and the conversion rate to like your day one retention and time to first purchase. All these metrics are impacted by this, depending on kind of like where your game is currently running, and kind of like the localization and culturalization of this game. And if they match well, then all these KPIs just kind of increase. So that was one of the cool things about hyper casual games, is a ball can work really well as a main character.
That's awesome insight. And I guess for all of these games, you were the main guy who was looking at all these metrics, all of these KPIs, making sure that they make sense. So I guess now we can fast forward a bit. And now you, because of your expertise and experience in the gaming scene, you've created Superfine. Maybe you can tell us more about what exactly it is you do at Superfine and how you're using your experience here.
Thank you so much for asking. So Superfine is essentially an AI marketer, and the reason why we wanted to come up with this, so back to like my story at Dots and 2 Dots. So when we launched this game, we mainly used like 2 ad networks at the time, just Facebook and Google. And during this time, new ad networks were coming up. So for example, 2 Dots was the first game to reach 1 million downloads on Twitter. And we were like the beta testers for Twitter ads when Twitter ads first came out. And today now there are like hundreds of ad networks that you can operate on. And each of these ad networks have their own nuance, like what you can say, what you can't say, the size creatives you can use, and also different like audience profiles, and different pricing algorithms, like how fast I change my bid, how much does that impact the performance of the campaign. And so a language learning model is really interesting for this because it can understand all this nuance. I would say like 5 years ago in a marketing team, you might have like, okay, this person does Google really well, this person does Facebook really well, this person's really good at Twitter. Everyone knows the TikTok person, they're really good at TikTok. Now, AI can be really good at all these things, right? And it understands the nuance of each ad network and can get updates in real time. And so this is kind of a really interesting thing when you combine AI with performance marketing. And that's kind of like how we came up with Superfine.
That's an interesting use of AI because I think for a lot of the games that are building right now, and not even just games, like projects all throughout Web3, even Web2, a lot are already integrating and using different AI tools because it's just like one of the hottest things right now. So sometimes the application is just on creative, sometimes it's simply asking ChatGPT for help in creating a business plan. But you guys have, I guess, mastered and are continuing to refine using AI and performance marketing specifically. I'm not sure if you could share like a lot about this topic, but maybe you could share how it has been like working with some of your gaming clients or your gaming partners, and how exactly you've been helping them grow using your AI tools at Superfine.
Yeah, so happy to talk about that a little bit. So the UA technology that we've been working on is something I've kind of been trying to perfect my entire career. And so we've had, through the same tech, we've had games generate close to like 400 million downloads, and this is Web 2. We do have one client in Web 3. You might have heard of them before. They're called Axie Infinity, and currently we're doing early tests with them on user acquisition. And so far we're seeing very good, progress and awesome KPIs. Nothing I can share, but I think things are going really well. And we have a couple of more clients on Web3 that are coming on board this month. And so it's still early, but things are looking really good.
That's an interesting project you mentioned, Axie. I might have to look it up. I'm kidding. So maybe like I guess looking forward, there seems to be a lot of trends around AI. A lot of applications that I think every week there's a new piece of news about like a new capability that AI could do with all of these GPT bots, all new tech. So what do you think is next for Superfine? How will you take advantage of this opportunity in AI? And I guess like working with different players in Web3, because both AI and Web3, they're growing, they're booming right now. So what's next for you guys in terms of taking advantage of the opportunities in each specific sphere?
It's a great question. So Superfine can actually work for any type of application, Web 2 or Web 3, and also not just gaming. It can go beyond gaming. But the reason why we want to solve Web 3 gaming first is because I think it's the most complex and most interesting thing to solve. And if we can solve this, then we can take this outside of gaming. And so our next big milestone would be in Q1, our public release. But I think the thing to talk about here is that when you're doing kind of like measurement for a Web3 game, the reason why it's really interesting is because like, I'll just use Axie as an example. So this is a game that has like a mobile device. There's also, let's say, a web marketplace and also like a PC client, right? And so you have a user that goes through that ecosystem could be tapping into multiple devices, right? And so then how do you measuring the LTV, for example, for like a user that plays this game is way more complex than measuring the LTV for a user that's playing 2048, for example. And so this is, I think, a really interesting challenge. And so being able to solve this for Web3 gaming puts us ahead, I think, of the curve and allows us to solve this problem also for Web2 games. So Q1, we're going for a public release next year. And that's the next major milestone that we're looking forward to.
That's great. Maybe lastly, like just to end this segment on AI and what's next for Superfine, what are the, maybe like, do you think people should be cautious about anything around AI right now, given your experience working with these projects, especially in marketing. So it could be a tool, but are there any issues or disadvantages, or maybe like tips around using AI carefully and effectively that you have for all the builders here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we've learned is that AI agents are really good at, especially when you kind of train them to do like single specific tasks. Asking, kind of AI to solve like a long list of things for you can often not get you the result that you're looking for. And AI can also be extremely convincing, right? And so I think one thing that we're trying to do is make it very easy for a marketer to basically come up with a marketing plan, be able to look at why is AI suggesting this, what are the sources of this from this suggestion that it's making, for example, to allocate my budget or to bid a certain amount or to use this particular ad network. And you can edit it yourself and then run and execute it. So I think the one thing is don't assume that AI is going to solve everything for you. It's really good at doing specific things. And definitely take a look at Superfine when we come out early next year.
I think with all of the things that you discussed about Superfine and just basically getting a chance to learn a lot from your experience, we might have to check it out actually for the projects that we're building. And I think that goes the same for the games out here. It sounds like a really great undertaking, and I think you guys are really leading the move on AI for marketing. So thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences, and I definitely learned a lot from what you shared.
Sam, thank you so much for your time today. This was excellent. And thank you, YGG.
Thank you, YGG.
Thank you, Chris and Sam. If you guys want to rewatch today's conversation, we've actually been live on Facebook at YGG Web3 Games Summit. Do share your experiences from today and yesterday as well, and use the hashtag W3GS. Again, that's hashtag W3GS. Now, to close today's gathering, let's give a warm welcome back on stage, Mensch Dizon and Gabby Dizon of YGG Pilipinas.
Now you've met my boss.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for everyone for being with us for the last couple of days. It has been a great learning experience, listening to our builders and founders, interacting with the developers who actually built the games we are so excited about. The future of games is indeed something we look forward to. Lots of opportunities, lots of interesting things in store.
It's been a great week so far. We've had so many friends fly from all over the world to come here. It's been great sharing the past 2 days with you. It's not over yet. We still have 2 days of expo and the last day for tournament and cosplay day. So we're looking forward to see you for the rest of the week.
So on behalf of YGG Pilipinas,
and on behalf of Yil Games,
maraming salamat po.
Let's keep it up, let's keep it up. Let's give them again another round of applause. YGG, thank you very much. Before we wrap up, let's have a look one more time at today's SDE video.
We look forward to another new day of learning, and we hope that you are excited as us for day 2 of the YGG Web3 Games Summit. Thank you, guys.
It's clear that as we enter a new cycle, Philippines will remain the beating heart of Web3 gaming.
YGG Web3 Game Summit 2023.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Ash. You may know me as Abu on Twitter. I handle the games and partnerships within Sky Mavis together with Kathleen. Most famous for Axie Infinity, but right now we're onboarding games and teams coming on to build with us.
But the thing that we've tried to focus on from the very beginning is the community building. And we're talking about a year before the release of the game. It's very rare to see something like that in Web 2, so that's something unique that we've been doing.
Do here is to make sure that we provide best-in-class user experience and support, both for developers as well as for users. Upgradability and security based on the smart contract language as well. And I think other than that, that's what we kind of look for, is to build for scale, so throughput and also sub-second latency.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up day 2 of the YGG Web3 Games Summit 2023. We've seen some awesome gameplay and heard from some exceptional leaders of the Web3 gaming space. We truly appreciate the valuable insights shared by our speakers today. Don't forget, the next 3 days are action-packed at Samsung Hall with a gaming expo, and Saturdays, 100,000 USD Project Zeno tournament. Thank you again, YGG Emfarsis. Let's give a round of applause to Nathan and the rest of the team. Nathan's the director of Emfarsis. Give him a round of applause. This has been Ivana De La Torre, your host for today, and that is a wrap for the YGG Web3 Game Summit 2023. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. In Jihoz words, the beating heart of Web3 gaming.
If you're up for more swag and games, join us for the expo and tournament tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Samsung Hall of the SM Aura Premiere. Registration starts at 9 a.m. We have a VIP happy hour happening tonight, and doors will open at 5:15 p.m. over the next ballroom, that is Ballroom C, and our VIP dinner will happen.